Hey everyone, Pastor Eric here with my wife Paula, and I've asked her to join me in this chair time with James because I did not want to feel conviction alone. The reason is because we're looking at James chapter 3. The first 12 verses are all about our tongues or our words. And I can tell you, I have already failed with saying negative words today, especially to my boys. And James, he says right away in verse 2, he says, if we could just control our tongues, we would be perfect and could also control ourselves in every other way. Wouldn't it be true if you could just say positive things or kind things to your spouse, to a friend, to coworkers, family, whoever it is, we would live the perfect life. Everything would be great. But we don't do that. Sadly, we say negative things and things that hurt people often. James says that a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. He's comparing that to our words. He's saying one negative word can hurt somebody for life. How does you seen that happen in your life, Paula?
Well, I think of things that were said to me as a kid and a lot of awesome, positive things, but I can specifically remember one time that there was a boy on the bus when I was in the 4th grade, and he fired something at me. He was mad at me, and he said something very hurtful. And to this day, I can still see his face, and I can still remember his words more than a lot of things that were spoken to me in my whole life. And I did not just sit there and take it. I fired something back at him, and I can remember exactly what I said to him. And so that has really stuck with me. It kind of fed into some insecurities early on and even as I got older. And it wasn't something that built me up. It definitely tore me down, and that has stuck with me. And I think of just with our kids, our spouses, the people that we're in this situation with in our own home, we can say such quick, mean, hurtful things to them that will stick with them many years after what is going on right now.
And you can't take your words back. I said something to our oldest son, Hudson, yesterday in frustration, and I literally saw him wilt. And he was crying, not tears of anger, but tears of sadness because I broke his little heart. We can't take our words back. And honestly, if those words are coming out of our mouth, we have a heart problem. And James says we got to do something about that. That's why he says in verse 10, he says, surely my brothers and sisters, this is not right. He's saying if we say blessings and cursings out of the same mouth, something's not right here. In other words, as a Christ follower, we're supposed to speak life over people because God speaks life into us. He only says things to us that builds us up, and we're called to do that as well. And so, Paula, how do we do that in our everyday lives?
I think for this time, especially where we are homebound, we can't go many places, I think we have to dig really deep, get alone with God, do whatever you have to do to find God in you and that strength in you to say things that will only build your children, your spouse up so that it can be an environment of life-giving and where our kids will feel filled up instead of torn down. And I also think that when we think outside of our own home and we think about the people that are really struggling right now in isolation, feeling lonely, desperate, concerned about their health, we can use our tongues to build them up. I think we live in such a society where we just text or we Facebook message or we spend all day on Facebook or Twitter, but we can actually pick up the phone and call somebody and say, how are you doing? Like, how are you really okay? How's your health? How are your worries? How can I pray for you? A friend of mine did that this past weekend, and I was so surprised to look and see somebody was calling me, not texting me. And I was so encouraged to hear her voice and to hear the things that she said. That really stuck with me and meant a lot to me. And it just made me think, who can I be calling? Who can I be reaching out to? Or even sending like a little voice text. Maybe your kids can do that to grandma or grandpa. Just to use our words to build people up right now.
So you have a choice. You either tear people down or build people up. There's no in between. What are you going to choose? Until next time, love you guys.